And,
Right.
Yes, it could be a knee-jerk reaction to blame mental illness for this, but, and this is a big but, we have to look at the environmental issues of, and I don't mean that as far as the kooks that think that
global warming is causing mass shooting.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 346. Thank you all so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week this week. Thank you to all of you who have returned to us, who have listened before and decided you liked what you heard and you're back for more. Those of you who are new, welcome aboard. It is great to have you with us. Today is the first variety show of 2023, which for those of you who are new means that we have content from our cast members today, and I'll be turning it over to them shortly. But first, I want to give a shout out to the men and women who make this show possible. Folks, Armed Lutheran Radio is listener funded, and that means we don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. We rely on those who love this show and want to see it grow and succeed, those who are the members of the Reformation Gun Club. This week's shout out goes out to George from Hammond, Louisiana, Dallas from Severance, Colorado, Dan from Indian Trail, North Carolina, Kenneth from Sugarland, Texas, Kevin from Marion, Iowa, Mark from St. Paul, Minnesota, Kevin from Fairfax, Missouri, Matthew from Nixa, Missouri, Paul from Sheridan, Wyoming, and Robert from Elk River, Minnesota. Thank you all so much for your support. It really means a lot to us. We really do appreciate all that you do for us, and we hope you enjoy another wonderful season of Armed Lutheran Radio. Folks, like I said, the show is supported by the members, the men and women who value what we do here and want to see it succeed. If you would like to find out more about how you can support the show and all the benefits of becoming a member, all the cool swag, the monthly online hangouts, and hundreds of hours of exclusive content on our members-only website, visit armedlutheran.us/gunclub, or look for a link in the show notes for this or any of our previous episodes. The lowest membership tier starts at just $15.17 per year. So come and join us. We would love to see you at our next online hangout, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks. All right. Today, as I said, is the first variety show of the year. What that means, we're kicking off our 8th season of Armed Lutheran Radio, believe it or not. 8 years of Armed Lutheran Radio goodness coming to your ear holes. And that means what we're going to do today is hear from all of the members of our cast. And that means Mia Anstein, Sergeant Bill Sylvia, Pastor John Bennett. We're talking today about the new year ahead, looking ahead to this new 2023, what we hope this new year brings to us and what plans or resolutions that we might have. You'll be hearing from Mia and from Pastor Bennett shortly. Sergeant Bill had an extremely busy week at work this week, was unable to get a segment together for us, but he did want me to pass along that his resolution for 2023 is to suck less. And so in the spirit of that resolution, let me kick things off before handing things over to Mia here in just a few minutes. Do you do resolutions each year? Do you do these, the new year, new you thing? I'm going to do all this great stuff and make myself a better person. Well, I don't, and I've never really gotten into that whole idea. But for 2023, for me, things I think are going to be a little bit different. I'm starting to look at the future in a little different lens. Coming up on my 54th birthday, I'm really wanting to focus on being healthier, eating better, getting more exercise, getting back in better shape, losing some weight, and working as a software developer doesn't make that easy, because it's not exactly an energetic lifestyle, to say the least. I'm not getting any younger, as I said, at 50, coming up on 54 next month, and with one bird out of the nest and another one maybe 6 years away from leaving as well, before the nest is completely empty. I want to be able to enjoy that as much as possible. So, hoping to make some lifestyle changes to offset the horrible sedentary lifestyle that software development provides. I also want to get back to the range and shoot more in 2023. I have not, shame on me, you will be shocked to know this, but I have not been to the range for any reason since the pandemic shut everything down and ammo prices began to skyrocket. I think the last time was April of 2020. I think. I have to go back and look. I'm getting the years run together with all of the with the lockdown and all of that stuff, but I think it was 2020 was the last time. Yeah, Trump was in office. That was the last time. Yeah, it's been a long time. But the reason that I have not been to the range initially, of course, was the ammo prices and the pandemic, but it's been more than that in recent years. So beyond those things, the pandemic, which for all intents and purposes is over now, ammo prices are not great, but they're a far sight from what they were 2 years ago. So those excuses are kind of behind me. But for those who have followed me over the years, you know that one of the things that I did quite often was to travel around the country and shoot IDPA matches. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that is the International Defensive Pistol Association. And before the pandemic, those matches could mean, a season of IDPA could mean, starting in usually late March, early April, going all the way into, say, late October, early November, shooting matches in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Mississippi and Louisiana, and occasionally longer forays further afield to places like Illinois or in Indiana or Tennessee or Iowa. Even went back to North Carolina for a state match one year. And those trips were amazing, and those trips were fun. And the people I got to see and spend time with and get to know were wonderful, and I had an amazing time, and I really appreciate the hospitality that I was shown. But priorities have shifted a bit. My daughter is finishing her second year of confirmation this year, so taking her to confirmation on Sunday and setting a good example of being there on Sunday mornings means overnight trips to matches are not regular multiple times a month, visiting, being out of town for these matches. Doesn't really fit. And then there's another thing, which again, this is a family thing, but spending, speaking of the empty nest that I talked about earlier, my daughter finished her first season of middle school volleyball this year. And those of you who've been listening to the show, I've talked about volleyball season and all of the kind of alluded to all of the expectations and the commitments involved. And for those of you who have kids who play or are serious about sports, it's a big time and money commitment. It's something that you can't just, do on the weekend or once a week or whatever. It's pretty involved. And we're starting our second season of club volleyball. For those of you who know anything about volleyball beyond just, middle school and high school, this is a sport that she loves and she excels at. And I absolutely love going and watching her play. And as I record this, I am recovering from a day of volleyball tournament matches and going to be going back and enjoying another day tomorrow. It's also one of the reasons that I have not been shooting as much or buying ammo or paying for match fees or hotels and traveling and all of that. Once you get to this level, once you're beyond sort of the peewee level of, and this is probably applies to lots of different sports, not just volleyball. But once your child gets serious at a sport, it's a year-round thing at this level. And you don't just play a couple of months at school and then hang the cleats up. Well, no, not cleats in this case. Hang up the volleyball shoes and, chill out and eat Doritos until next year. There's club, which is a 6-month season, and then there's summer leagues, and there's private lessons, and then another school season finally comes around, and it's lather, rinse, repeat. And when you invest that much time and money into a sport, it's hard to justify continuing the investment that comes with really being actively involved in something like IDPA or any kind of competitive shooting. It's hard to justify the time and the resources, the money, that investment when your child is involved in something as involved as a sport like this. So my match shooting plans are going to be a little more low-key this year. More matches at my local clubs, which I have not done in a long time either. And hopefully I can squeeze in some matches that don't require overnight travel. So we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately, my local club hosts some sanctioned national level matches, but they do it on Sundays, so that won't be happening this year. But there are some other clubs in the area that host matches, so maybe I can get out to one or two of those that don't require me to spend a night overnight. So obviously I need to get back to the range. I need to knock the rust off. Obviously, having not shot in as long as I have, I've got a lot of work to do to get back in shape, break out the old Steve Anderson books and do some more dry fire and get myself back into match shape, and find a way to be both the wannabe competitive shooter and the volleyball dad at the same time. Now, what am I looking forward to in 2023? This is the other thing that we wanted to discuss today, and I'll give you a quick rundown before I turn things over to Mia and Pastor Bennett. Now, one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is online hangouts with the Reformation Gun Club. I mentioned the gun club earlier. What we've tried to do over in the past is to schedule a monthly online hangout with the cast and with members of the club. And what we do is we shoot the breeze. We talk about current events. We talk about what's going on in our lives. We share some adult beverage recommendations, and we just hang out and have a good time. And I'm really looking forward to doing that again in 2023. We did that. We did for the first time in 2022. We did one a month. We planned to do one a month in previous years, and sometimes those plans fell short, as all best laid plans generally do. But last year we made all 12 hangouts, and I'm really looking forward to doing that again in 2023. And I hope, like I said earlier, I hope you'll come and join us, join the Reformation Gun Club, and get those invitations and come hang out with us. We would love to see you. And that's the other thing. It's not just hearing my voice. We get to see each other, and we get to interact, and we get to know the members of the gun club. It's a fun time. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to doing more Clinging to God and Guns. As I mentioned in last week's show, we're going to try to do 2 a month instead of 1 a month like we did last year. Those shows are always so much fun, and we really need to do more of them. So 2023, I'm really looking forward to doing more shows with Pastor Bennett doing the Clinging to God and Guns stuff. That is a lot of fun. And in non-shooting related news, what am I looking forward to this year? Well, I'm looking forward to another year of not paying attention to what Hollywood or the leftist entertainment, the NFL or the NBA do. I don't give a darn about any of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to another year of not caring about that. I'm also looking forward to watching Brandon get investigated and impeached, perhaps. As we've said in the past, and I will repeat as often as it needs to be said, we're living in a banana republic governed by morons, and it's high time that the left in this country got a taste of what they've been dishing out for the past 6 years. And I'm hoping that Republicans have the spine to dish it out. Okay, so that is all I have for today. That's what I'm looking forward to in 2023. Thank you for listening. I encourage you to stick around because the rest of the show is going to be fun. Mia and Pastor Bennett are coming up next. Talk to you again next week with a Clinging to God and Guns episode, the first Clinging to God and Guns show of 2023. And I will talk to you then.
Time now for Mia's Motivations with Mia Anstein.
Well, hello there. I'm so happy to be visiting with you again. My goodness, it is such a blessing to be a member of the Armed Lutheran Radio cast and crew. I sure do enjoy it, and I hope that I share a lot with you. Today, I wanted to just visit a little bit and give you an idea of what my year is going to look like because, oh my gosh, January is almost gone, but we try to set and make plans and kind of see what direction our lives are going when a new year begins. And I have quite a bit scheduled, but not as much as I used to in the years past. I used to be all over the place years ago, and now I feel like things are a little more streamlined. But so going into this year, I've got SHOT Show coming up, and hopefully at SHOT Show, I will be meeting with my publishers and editors and renewing assignments and positions and all that kind of stuff. That's my goal, is to get those renewed and make sure I've still got a job. I'll also be looking for some new products. I actually have scheduled my time, so I hopefully will have time to scout and explore and see what's on the show floor. If I find some cool things, I will be sure to bring those back to share with you all, because it's pretty cool to be able to have the opportunity to see some things before they're even released. So I will be sharing some of that with you in the coming year. But I also have my own podcast, and I had let that go for a little while just because, as I told you all in a past segment, life just became overwhelming. And when that happens, you have to let certain things go. So the podcast had slipped, but it's back up and running. I have a plethora of interviews and individual segments from myself that are scheduled already and more in the works. So I'm really excited and pumped about the Mac Outdoors podcast. So little plug there, I know. But I also am going to be doing some archery classes again. I will be doing that down in Texas and a few other locations. I'll announce those hopefully on my website as they get closer to the events and things get kind of dialed in a little more. I'm going to be teaching hunting on some webinars in partnership with the A Girl and a Gun Club. So keep an eye out for that on my social media because I'll announce that there. And I've also got some other partnerships that I'll be working on throughout the summer. So my main goal this year is to try to continue to work on my personal health and personally on my stress in my life because, as I said, things got a little overwhelming there for a while. Something that I think is really going to help with the stress is politics. The politics, it seems like it's hopefully going to be leveling off a tad. And that's something that I really am looking forward to in the coming year, that it seems like on the gun owner side and slightly on the hunting side, we have some voices out there that are really speaking for us. And I am encouraged by that quite a bit. Here in Colorado, I'm going to be working a lot on some of the wolf issue. We had voters mandate and dictate that we're going to have wolves in my backyard. So I know there are some of you that live in Colorado that listen to the show. If you are listening, I really want you to make it a point to write the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission. Let them know your thoughts about the wolf. They have released their management plan, and that's actually what we're going to be commenting about is the plan. It doesn't do any good at this point to say we don't want wolves because it was voter mandated. So even if you don't want them, it doesn't matter. They're coming. And actually, they're already here. So that's something that I'm going to be working on quite a bit, is trying to activate others to write letters. And hey, on a side note, if you're not even from Colorado, you can write letters to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission as well. So I encourage you to do that. I will send Lloyd a link so that you can find that in the show notes or on the website, and you can make comments. Honestly, those comments do matter. Don't think that they don't. The thing that kind of gets overwhelming for them is when we have these form letters where, you get this email and you just put your personal information in and you press send. That gets a little overwhelming and doesn't quite do as well as when you write your own personal thoughts and feelings and respectful comments to the commissioners. They're people too, and they like to be treated with respect just like you and I do. Those are a few of the things that I'm going to be working on in the coming year, and some of my goals, primarily health and to just keep on track with all my things. I also have another goal, and that is that I want to get outside more. My gosh, last year, I was stuck inside quite a bit with all of the digital meetings and all of that kind of stuff. It really did cut into a lot of my outdoor time. So that's one of my goals this year, is I'm going to get outside more. I sure do miss being out there for the majority of the time. So that's something that's on my radar. I hope to draw some coveted hunting licenses. I've been applying for years for many of them here in Colorado. Maybe I'll draw a moose, mountain goat, or bighorn sheep hunting license. Those are hunts and adventures that I've always looked forward to. Some I've been on. I've been on a moose hunt, but not for myself. That hunt I went on with my husband actually before we were married. And someday, if we bump into each other, why don't you ask me to tell you the moose hunt story, because it was quite an adventure. So those are some things that I've got going on. I hope that you all have some good plans for yourselves as well. Have a great one and have a blessed February, because it's just right around the corner. The days are just flying by. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
You can read more from Mia, watch her YouTube videos, or check out her podcast, Mac Outdoors with Mia and Leah, at miaanstein.com. It's time for Pastoral Pontifications with Pastor John Bennett.
Hey folks, this is the Pistol Packing Padre, Pastor John Bennett, wishing you a very happy new year. Today we're talking about our hopes and plans for 2023. And I could break down my view of this in just a few topics. The first one is health. New Year's, it's always the time for New Year's resolutions, and it's the time of the year where gym membership explodes. And then after a few months, people finally give it up because, they paid for a membership that they did nothing with. For myself, I was diagnosed with a heart condition last quarter or so of last year. I think it was October, November, sometime around there. And I've been steadily losing weight since then. I did put a little bit on over the Christmas holiday celebration. Can't blame you for that. But my big focus is getting healthy because, I've got this condition. I need to take care of my health. and I want to be able to be around for my kids when I get older. So that's the big one, I would say, for me. The next biggest thing would be financial security. I'm looking at the possibility of taking on a second job. There's also the possibility of serving a vacancy a little ways down the road. But the way the economy has been, it's been absolutely crushing to our cost of living. And for all of my church members, well, the same things happen to them. And when your salary is paid by people whose cost of living has gone up, well, there's not as much to go around. So financial security, not just for myself, but also for the church. And a lot of this has to do with the way that the political realm is going right now, which is the third of my categories is politics. I'm hoping that this year will bring some sanity to the Washington, D.C. area and for the rest of the country. Unfortunately, it seems like there's already many states, well, not many states, but a handful of states that are continuously losing their minds when it comes to things like the Second Amendment. We've seen the recent laws passed by New York and Chicago, not Chicago, well, it may as well be Chicago, but Illinois, California, of course, those are the big three for the most liberal states. And surprise, surprise, they are passing various bans which are contrary to the Second Amendment. So while these states are continuously violating people's civil rights, it's time to be vigilant. So hoping and praying that the newly elected Congress will be able to at least bring some sanity. Well, we now control 1/3 of the three branches of government, and we already see some good things happening within the political realm. And I hope that really leads to, with all the different changes that we see on the political scene, I hope this also brings some relief economically, because right now the economy, despite what President Houseplant keeps on saying, no, the economy is not doing well. There's still people who are getting paid to sit home and not work. The cost of everything is going up, and wages are not going up nearly as fast as the cost of living. It's gotten to the point now where you have to practically take out a second mortgage just to go buy a carton of eggs. So let's hope that changes as well. As far as for myself personally, yes, the health thing was personal. Some of the financial stuff also personal. As far as politics and the economy, that's more broadly speaking our world. Another personal item gun related, is that I'm hoping that this summer that I'd have a little more time to do some shooting. I do not have access to a sanctioned IDPA club unless I want to drive more than 100 miles. There is a local gun club. It's a little more than 30 miles away, where they do have a very informal IDPA season. It's basically a handful of guys that get together and they have one single spot to shoot, and they just switch the stages around. And I've done it a few times, but it's been a couple years. Had a lot of fun doing that. I'm also looking at possibly selling a couple guns that I don't shoot anymore. Looking at perhaps selling my Saiga AK, and partly because I never shoot it, but the other part is because it's gotten to be worth a whole lot more than what I paid for it, thanks to the import bans that were put in place by Obama. So if anybody's interested, let me know. Part of that selling of firearms, it's guns I don't ever shoot, and it's for the purpose of paying off some bills, but also I've gotten into a new hobby. When I was a kid, a lot of my friends had hobby-grade RC cars, and it's something that I'd always wanted, but my parents could never afford. I was one of 8 kids, and my dad didn't make a whole lot of money, and so there wasn't money available for some of those luxury items. Well, this last Christmas, my son, I was with him at the store before Christmas back in November, getting some ideas of what he wanted for Christmas. And he took an interest in RC cars. And as I started to take a look at decent RC cars, not the junk they've got at Walmart, but decent RC cars, it suddenly rekindled that desire from when I was a child, especially when the first one of the first vehicles that pops up is exactly the one that I'd wanted as a kid but couldn't have. And so I bought a car, built the car with my son, with the exception of the gearbox. He turned every screw himself, and I was there to help. And so we built it together, built those memories, and he also got himself a ready-to-run car. And so that's something I've been delving into, and it turns out that that's a hobby that can suck up money just as quickly as you can with the shooting hobby. So that's something that I'm looking to expand a little bit as the year goes on and as money allows and as buyers line up to purchase the firearms that I've got that are sitting around collecting dust. So those are my plans and my hopes and my dreams for 2023. And lastly, though, I wanted to just throw this out there that with each passing year, it's also a wonderful opportunity to continue to grow in your faith. I've been a pastor now for 17 years. I was baptized into the faith as an infant. And the more that I read the scriptures, the more that I find there. There's so much that we can draw from a particular passage, and it seems that, when I go through the assigned readings for a particular year, that each new year I find a deeper meaning there. I find a deeper application to our faith life, and you can never stop learning enough of the scriptures, and you can never stop growing in your faith. So, my goal every year is to get through the Bible once throughout the course of the year, and that's a challenge that I put forward to all of you, our audience. A good resource for that is YouVersion. They've got a Bible app where you can have a reading plan where it'll even read the Bible to you as you're driving down the road. If you spend any time behind the wheel on a daily basis, it'd be a good opportunity to listen to the scriptures and have that be an impact on your life. Well, that's all for this segment. I wish you all the best in 2023, and we'll talk to you again.
John Bennett is the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota. For more information, visit stjohnswillowcreek.org. For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.